bed. The clearance rates nationally is 77.5%, Chris, and that's still a really, really strong figure. We've been in the high 70s now for a few weeks, and if you look back and think about it, this time last year was 66.6%, so it's still even better than when the market was really moving well this time last year. Sydney, again, 85% clearance rate. Now, that's been in the 85s to close to 90s for weeks, and Melbourne had a cracker of a week at 78.3%. So those two capital cities are really dominating, and Canberra came in at 70.3, which is, and that's been doing all right too for a while. So those are the three markets that have probably taken charge of what's happening around the countryside. So I think that if talk to you about that boom 80% on a national basis, you know, we've been touching that and getting real close to that when everybody's saying slow down, you know.
Now, obviously, the big question now is not so much clearance rates, it's is there any property coming on the market?
No, negative 2.79%.
Just what we need.
Not good, not good. Same as Auckland, New Zealand itself in new listings, negative 0.4, and in the overall stock, and negative 5.4 for stock coming in the market.
Wonderful. And vacancy rates?
Yeah, they're pretty good, still pretty steady. Sydney 1.27%, Melbourne 3.96, climbing, got to watch that one, and Perth at 5.55. So that's given us a 3.59% average over those three.
And so I jumped before that, we should be rent prices.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll get back to rent. Want to go back to rent prices again? I'm just following your lead. So the rent price movement actually has been positive around the countryside. You're going red, by the way, so just pull back and take a deep breath. The movement in Sydney was a 0.15% increase. Melbourne was a 0.21% increase, and Perth was a 0.20 increase, which gave an increase overall across the country of 0.24%. And this time, over the start of the year, from where we are today, it's a negative 1.44%. So it's really steady in the rental market.
Now, very quickly, you were over in Wellington last week. I was in Auckland this week. How did you find the New Zealand market? I was
in Auckland, yeah. Their stock is declining. I mean, the agents are doing pretty well. They've had some pretty good time, but the stock levels are declining, which you expect with winter. But I think they still need more stock, so we're down overall from this time last year.
And I think their banks are doing a similar thing to ours.
They did, and it was a little bit damaging, so I'll see what happens.
Charles Tarbey, Century 21, thanks for joining us as always.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for joining us at home as well. We'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Chris Gray. Good night.
The information featured in this program is general in nature and therefore should not be relied upon. Guests appearing on the program may have commercial arrangements with some of the companies mentioned. Before making any investment, insurance or financial planning decisions, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you.